The night I stumbled onto the truth, I had no idea it was going to change my life forever. It started as any other quiet evening at home. Claire, my wife of 6 years, was busy folding laundry in the living room, humming softly to herself, while I scrolled absent-mindedly through my phone at the kitchen table. It was then that I saw the notification, an unfamiliar name tagged on a social media post. The caption read, "What a small world. Never thought I'd see these two amazing women in one photo." Curiosity got the better of me, and I tapped on the image. It was a casual group photo, several people smiling in what looked like a restaurant, but my focus zeroed in on Claire, seated next to her younger sister, Anna. They were both leaning into the same man. The man was grinning, his arms slung casually over both of their shoulders. I didn't recognize him, but the familiarity between the three of them was unmistakable. I frowned, trying to piece together the context. Claire had never mentioned this dinner, nor this man. It wasn't uncommon for her and Anna to have girls' nights, but something about this picture unsettled me. "Hey, Claire," I called out. "Do you know someone named Ethan Parker?" Her humming stopped abruptly. "What?" she asked, her tone sharp as she turned to face me. "This guy," I said, holding up my phone. Her eyes darted to the screen, and for a split second, I saw it, a flicker of something between panic and recognition. "Oh, that," she said, laughing nervously. "That's just Anna's friend. We ran into him the other night at dinner." "Anna's friend?" I repeated, my skepticism evident. "Yes," she said quickly. "It was no big deal. Just a coincidence." Her explanation didn't sit right, but I didn't press further. Not yet. Over the next few days, the image stayed lodged in my mind like a splinter. Something about the way Claire had reacted didn't add up. I started paying closer attention. Her phone conversations, her late-night texts, the way she and Anna shared hushed laughs whenever they were together. One evening, as Claire showered, I noticed her phone buzzing on the nightstand. The name on the screen made my stomach drop. Ethan. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the device. I knew it was a breach of trust, but the knot in my gut urged me forward. I unlocked the phone, scrolling through their messages. The texts weren't overly romantic, but they carried a familiarity that didn't belong between a married woman and her sister's friend. "Can't wait to see you again. The other night was perfect. Same time next week." The timestamps were recent, too recent. The next day, I couldn't shake the unease gnawing at me. I decided to call Anna under the guise of planning a surprise for Claire's birthday. "Hey, Anna," I said casually. "I was thinking about doing something special for Claire." Maybe involving some of her friends. Like Ethan? There was a pause, and I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. "Ethan?" she said carefully. "Why would you involve him?" "I don't know," I replied, feigning ignorance. "You two seem pretty close." Her laughter was forced. "He's not really my friend, James. He's more Claire's, well, friend from work." Something in her voice cracked as she spoke, and my heart sank. That night, I confronted Claire. "Tell me about Ethan," I said, my tone calm but firm. Her face paled. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I know you've been seeing him," I said, holding up her phone. "I saw the texts, Claire. Don't lie to me." She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Her silence was answer enough. "Is he Anna's friend? Or yours?" I pressed. Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked away. "It's complicated," she whispered. "Complicated how?" I demanded. But instead of answering, she crumbled under the weight of my stare. "It's not just me," she said finally, her voice shaking. "Anna's involved too." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Anna's involved too? I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. What the hell does that mean, Claire? She didn't answer immediately. Her hands trembled as she ran them through her hair, her eyes darting around the room like she was searching for an escape. Finally, she sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. It's not what you think, she said, her voice muffled. Then explain it, I demanded, my anger bubbling just beneath the surface. Because right now, it sounds like you and your sister have been, what? Sharing a boyfriend? Her head shot up, her tear-streaked face filled with panic. It's not like that, she exclaimed. I didn't know about Anna at first. And by the time I found out, it was too late. Too late for what? I asked, my voice hardening. For everything, she said, her shoulders slumping in defeat. It took an hour to pull the full story from her. Claire and Ethan had met nearly 3 years ago through her work. What started as an innocent friendship quickly turned into something more. A secret relationship she justified by telling herself our marriage had grown stale. But Ethan wasn't just hers. A few months into their affair, she discovered that he'd been seeing Anna as well. They'd met separately, under entirely different circumstances, and Ethan had somehow managed to keep both relationships hidden until Claire stumbled upon the truth. I confronted him, she admitted, her voice trembling. I told him it was over, that I couldn't believe he'd been seeing my sister behind my back. But you didn't stop, did you? I said coldly. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I tried, James. I really did. But he convinced me it didn't have to change anything. That what we had was separate from what he had with Anna. I laughed bitterly, the sound sharp and hollow. Separate? You're sleeping with the same man, Claire. Do you even hear yourself? I couldn't sit still. I paced the living room, my mind racing with 1,000 unanswered questions. How had I missed this? How had the woman I'd promised to spend my life with gotten caught up in something so twisted? What about Anna? I asked finally, stopping in front of her. Does she know? About you? Claire hesitated, her silence speaking volumes. Oh my God, I muttered, running a hand through my hair. She doesn't know, does she? I was going to tell her, Claire said weakly. But then things got complicated, and I didn't want to hurt her. I stared at her in disbelief. You didn't want to hurt her? Do you have any idea what you've done? To her? To me? To this family? Her face crumpled, but I didn't care. The betrayal wasn't just hers. It was layered, tangled in a web that involved my wife, her sister, and a man I didn't even know existed until now. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, staring at the ceiling as Claire cried herself to sleep in the bedroom. My mind was a battlefield, torn between anger, heartbreak, and the nagging need to confront the truth head-on. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I called Anna. Hey, she said cheerfully when she answered. What's up? We need to talk, I said, my voice steady but cold. Can you come over? Now? She asked, her tone shifting to concern. Is everything okay? No, I said simply. It's not. When Anna arrived, I could see the worry etched across her face. She stepped inside, glancing between me and Claire, who was sitting silently on the couch, her eyes red and puffy. What's going on? Anna asked, her voice cautious. I didn't sugarcoat it. It's about Ethan, I said. Her expression changed instantly, her eyes narrowing. What about him? I took a deep breath, bracing myself. He's been seeing Claire too. The words hit her like a physical blow. She staggered back a step, her hand flying to her mouth. What? I'm sorry, Claire whispered, her voice barely audible. Anna turned to her, her face a mix of shock and betrayal. You knew? You knew and you didn't tell me? I didn't know at first, Claire said desperately. And when I found out, I didn't know how to. Don't! Anna interrupted, her voice shaking with rage. Don't you dare try to justify this. The room descended into chaos as Anna's anger exploded. She shouted, pacing back and forth as Claire tried in vain to explain herself. I stood to the side, watching as the fallout unfolded, unsure of how to step in or if I even should. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just my marriage falling apart. It was an unraveling of trust between two sisters, a bond I thought unbreakable. And at the center of it all was Ethan, a man who had managed to deceive us all. The shouting finally subsided, leaving the room in a heavy, suffocating silence. Anna stood near the door. Can a cheater still love their partner? Write in the comments, her arms crossed and her chest heaving with anger. Claire sat on the couch, her head in her hands, sobbing quietly. I stayed where I was, leaning against the wall, unsure of what to do or say. It felt like we were standing in the wreckage of something we couldn't salvage. You let this go on for years? Anna asked, her voice trembling as she glared at Claire. How could you do this to me? To your husband? Claire looked up, her face streaked with tears. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, Anna. I made mistakes. I know that. But I never wanted to hurt you. You never wanted to hurt me, Anna repeated, her voice rising again. You were sleeping with the same man I was. For years. How could you not think this would hurt me? I finally stepped forward, my voice cutting through the tension. Enough, I said, my tone cold but firm. We all know what's happened. Now we need to decide what the hell we're going to do about it. Anna turned to me, her anger still simmering. What do you mean, do about it? There's nothing to do, James. Claire betrayed me, Ethan betrayed me, and now I have to figure out how to move on. And what about me? I asked, my voice cracking. You're not the only one he's been lying to. I'm married to her, Anna. This isn't just your mess. It's mine too. Anna stared at me for a moment, her expression softening slightly. You're right, she said finally. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm just so angry. So am I said, glancing at Claire. Claire looked between us, her face pale. I know I can't undo what I've done, she said quietly. But I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. To make things right with both of you. Anna laughed bitterly. You can't fix this, Claire. You can't undo years of lies. Do you even understand what you've done? You've destroyed our relationship, our trust. And for what? Him? The mention of Ethan brought my anger boiling back to the surface. We need to confront him, I said abruptly. Claire and Anna both looked at me, startled. What? Claire asked, her voice shaky. You heard me. I said, we need to talk to him. Together. He's the one who's been playing all of us, and I'm not going to let him walk away from this without consequences. Anna hesitated, then nodded. I'm in, she said, her voice resolute. I need answers. Claire swallowed hard, her eyes wide with fear. I don't know if that's a good idea. It's happening. I interrupted, my tone leaving no room for argument. The next day, the three of us met Ethan at a coffee shop. Anna had called him, pretending everything was normal, and arranged the meeting. He walked in looking confident, his easy grin faltering slightly when he saw me sitting next to Claire. James, he said, his tone cautious. What's going on? I didn't respond. Anna stood up, her face a mask of fury. Sit down, Ethan, she said coldly. He hesitated but finally complied, glancing nervously between the three of us. Want to explain yourself? Anna demanded, her voice dripping with anger. Explain what? He asked, his feigned innocence only fueling her rage. Don't play dumb, I said, leaning forward. You've been dating Claire and Anna at the same time. 4 years. We know everything. Ethan's face went pale, his usual charm replaced by panic. I can explain. Don't bother, Anna snapped. There's nothing you can say that'll make this okay. The confrontation was brutal. Ethan stammered through weak excuses, claiming he never meant to hurt anyone, and that he cared about both of them. But his words only made things worse. You cared about us? Claire said, her voice trembling. You destroyed my marriage. You ruined my relationship with my sister. How is that caring? I was selfish, Ethan admitted, his voice barely audible. I didn't think it would go this far. It went too far the moment you started lying to us, Anna said. By the time the meeting ended, none of us felt any better. Ethan left the coffee shop with his tail between his legs, but the damage he caused was irreparable. Anna turned to me as we stood outside. I don't know how you're going to handle things with Claire, she said, her tone softening. But I'm done. With both of them. She walked away, leaving me and Claire standing in awkward silence. James, Claire began, but I held up a hand to stop her. Don't, I said. I need time to think. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and I walked away, unsure of where to go or what to do next. The aftermath was messy. Anna cut all ties with Claire, and I filed for separation a week later. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was the only one I could live with. In the end, we all lost something: trust, love, family. And while the wounds would eventually heal, the scars would remain as a reminder of just how much damage one man's lies could do.